Junkyard's cool cars and Americana. This time, it's a 1,500-mile road trip and parts run from SoCal to Oregon and back to pick up a Model A chassis. And along the way, Mason and I are seeing a killer yard loaded with muscle cars. We'll find stunning rust-free trucks on the streets, see radical mid-century signs, meet a stranger who wanted to give us vintage sheet metal, and we're gonna nearly buy a Ford Dentside. I'm kicking it all off at a private old car junkyard. Here's kind of the story. My buddy Chris Birdsong connected me with this place that is, I don't know, in a mystery location. It's sort of in central Northern California, and it's been open since 1963, and it's still a business, but they don't really do auto salvage anymore. But they do have a lot of stuff that's been sitting here since time began. And they're not crushing it. The bummer is the place had a huge fire at one time, and a lot of these cars that we're gonna look at are pretty roasted as a result. But there's also a lot of cars that oddly, the fire sort of skipped over, and I've already done a quick walkthrough, and I can tell you there is a huge variety of stuff here, from 50s cars and Corvairs and Volkswagens and trucks and actual muscle cars. So we're gonna walk around, take a look at some stuff, and I'm gonna try and come up with that classic trivia that I so love to share. All right, let's go. Right here, 65 Buick Skylark. Here's the sort of spotter's guide tip on how to tell the difference between the 64 and 65, which are very similar. And there's a bunch of other things, but mainly see the center of the bumper right here. On a 65, it's sort of kicked up and in, and on a 64, it's sort of kicked down. So that's how I tell the difference right away. This is the saddest part of the whole yard to me. This is where they had the fire, and it wrecked an actual 7234 Cuda or Barracuda, I'm not sure, and also 2 Challengers. What a bummer. I really don't like the 72 to 74 Challenger, but I can live with the Cuda. Wow, that's a bummer. Aha! Chevy Nomad wagon. You think I'm wrong? Well, you probably think of a Nomad as the 1955 to 1957 super swoopy sport wagon, which, by the way, are almost completely different from a regular two-door station wagon. They have the slanted roof line. They're all really neat. And then the Nomad name actually continued all the way to 1962 for sort of the higher trim level wagons, even though the body style wasn't as different. But then in 1968 to 1972, they brought it back for the Chevelle wagon. But at this point, Nomad was the lowest line car that they sold in the Chevelle station wagon. And that's kind of weird. It replaced the Chevelle 300 as the cheapie car. So there you go, 71 Nomad. You know how I know it's a 71? Because the 71 and 72 have single headlights on each side instead of the doubles like a 70. But then in 1971, there is a line through the middle of the corner marker light, and in 72, there is not. You won't find too many Chevrolet trim levels that were only sold for 1 year, but the Yeoman is one of them. It was 1958 only. I can't believe we found an early Bronco in here. These things are gold these days. This is a 1976 Pontiac Firebird Formula. It's a 1 year only hood, and it's 1 year before the beak nose that came out in '77. My favorite, Plymouth Duster. But how do you tell the difference between a 1970 and a 1971? There's a bunch of trim differences in the interior, but as far as the exterior goes, only the 1970 says Valiant right there on the fender. And it also has this spiffy V8 badge, which you don't really see on the later ones. Poor Duster. Man, now we're in first-gen territory. Right there is a 67 Firebird, the very first Firebird. Obviously, also 67 was the first year for the Camaro. This is a 69 Firebird. Unfortunately, not quite as valuable as a 69 Camaro. However, there is a 1968 Camaro sitting right there with a bumblebee stripe. Ow! And another 67 Camaro. I promised you every junkyard crawl, I gotta tell you, love light utility vehicle. It's a tradition. Who cares, right? I found a Henry J. I happen to know that this one is a 1951 because it's got the two little signals like this, the round ones in the grill. The later ones didn't have that. This is one of my favorite quirky old vehicles to talk about. Let me give you some history. Henry J. Kaiser was a key player in the building of the Hoover Dam. He built Liberty ships and Kaiser aluminum and Kaiser steel. He founded Kaiser Permanente and was into broadcasting, and that only scratches the surface of the stuff this guy did. After World War II, he joined with the Freiburger car company to form Kaiser Freiburger, then Kaiser Motors. Then he bought Willys Overland in 1953 and formed Kaiser Willys, then Kaiser Jeep, which he then sold to AMC in 1970. From 1951 to 1954, with a government loan, Kaiser built a compact car called the Henry J. The earliest ones were so thrifty, they did not even have trunk lids. They didn't have glove boxes, nothing. They were El Strippo. They used the same engines as Willys Jeeps, which was the start of the relationship that led to the purchase of Willys. Henry J's were manufactured in the Willow Run facility that Ford had used during the war to build bombers. They were also manufactured in Japan by a division of Mitsubishi. In 1952 and 1953, slightly revised versions of the Henry J were sold through Sears as Allstate brand cars. Sadly, the Henry J was a complete sales failure. Leftover 1951 models were sold as 52s, and leftover 53s were sold as 54s. In 1954, a fiberglass sports car designed by Dutch Darren and called the Kaiser Darren was built on the Henry J chassis. In the end, the Henry J was a flop. However, the super lightweight cars did become popular with drag racers, and most of the ones you see today are in tribute to the gas class racers of the early 1960s. And that's the story of the Henry J. Look at this Mustang. I saw it from over there too. It's in like showroom condition. What's it even doing here? Needs a motor and that's like new. But if you think that's good, 1970 Mach 1. Look, it's a Detroit diesel, and more importantly to me, the supercharger. You've heard about Roots blowers called 471, 671, 871. Well, this is where they come from, as Detroit diesels. That is a supercharger for an 8-cylinder at 71 cubic inches per cylinder. So a 471, you got it, 4-cylinder. 671, 6-cylinder with 71 cubes per cylinder. That's where that comes from for hot rods. I found a Maverick. You know, I was hip to the Maverick a long time ago. They were like uncool back in the 80s because everybody thought they were just economy cars. They weren't Mustangs, but they're a neat little fastback body style, and I spotted this one immediately as a Maverick Grabber. How? Because it's got the little spoiler on the back that's just a little bit bigger than the regular one, and you can see it's on this orange car, and also that green one over there. It's also a Grabber. Unfortunately, the Grabber was just a trim package. It was stripes, the little spoiler. In 71 and 72, it had the cool 2-scoop hood, but you could still get a 6-cylinder with them. Actually, you could get a Maverick with an 8-cylinder after the very first model year, and that's the cool one to have. A 302 1971 Maverick Grabber. I think that's the premium unit. Junkyards always have cool old circle track cars, and there's one of them right there. It is like narrowed up radically. Chris Birdsong, who connected me with this whole place, told me that that was the inspiration for a narrowed Firebird circle track car that his dad had. That was the inspiration. So what do you think? Pretty cool old 70s stuff. This is a 1973 or 74 Chevy Nova, and they're kind of the same as the 68 to 72, but you know, they have the big bumpers and everything, and on the front fenders they added a little piece to put the big bumper on. Sometimes you will see people put an early front clip on them and try and pass them off as an earlier Nova. Here's the tell. The shape of the quarter window right here is different and larger on a 73 and 74. Here's the other thing about this car. It is the hatchback. This whole part lifts up. They did that in 1973 and 74 on these cars, and it also extended into the Disco Nova era, 75 and up. I don't know when they stopped doing it, but one of the cool things about these is you could get an accessory right from General Motors called the Hatch Hutch, which was a tent that went onto the back of your Nova so that you could camp and probably smoke a lot of weed in your 73 or 74 Chevy Nova. It was pretty cool. Look, I also found a hatchback Oldsmobile Omega, same as the Nova, different grille, different badges, and actually at this point, different engines too. What's wrong with this picture? Well, that's a Pontiac, but it has Chevelle SS stripes. Why do people do that? Pretty neat it's still here though. The 1976 to 1980 Scout Terra was an international Scout pickup, and these days Volkswagen is backing the comeback of the Scout Terra name on an EV. This is either an MG Midget or an Austin Healey Sprite. They're the exact same car. That's why they call them Spridgets. You're walking through the junkyard, minding your own business, having a good time. You run across 68 Chevelle. You're like, well, that's cool. Then you look inside it, and you see that it was a 4-speed. Then you walk around back and you spot the badge. That is an SS 396 68 Chevelle. At least it has the badge. I'm buying into it. I didn't check the numbers. This row right here is all filled with second-gen GM F-bodies, both Camaros and Firebirds. Here's the thing you might not realize. In the scope of Camaro production, numbers vary a little bit online, but I think it's safe to say 78 and 79 were peak Camaro. Some people will tell you that the 67 and 68 sold about the same, but I think Camaros were actually the biggest. And they came in Z28. They actually have a bunch of those here. And they had the Berlinetta, which when I was in high school, we called the Girlinetta because you wouldn't have the Berlinetta. It was like a dress-up package. And they also have a Firebird right here with T-tops and the shaker still on the windshield. Hot-blooded. Check it and see. He's got a fever of 103, probably. This is like a VW guy's dream right here. Apparently the big fire in this yard started at the Volkswagen yard next door, and these are probably some of the survivors from that. There's regular bugs, but also the fastback, the Carmen Ghia, the wagon. I totally remember riding around in all this stuff as a kid. Whoa, they even have a thing body. That's a third-gen Toyota pickup truck, 1979 to 1983, and it's the first one with Toyota factory four-wheel drive, if you don't count Land Cruisers. Wow, I love the old VW panel with the lettering on the side. This used to be a handyman truck, and unfortunately, that's going to be the last thing I'm going to have an opportunity to look at here. It's been an awesome visit, but I still need to cannonball all the way north to Oregon. The good news about that is not only is Mason my camera guy, but he's also my driver. So I'll be asleep while he's motoring north. Let's go. That was a great way to kick off the trip, but we still have 1,200 miles ahead, and I'm sure we're gonna find more ways to waste time and have fun. I don't know how, but we ended up off-roading. Was 7 miles, 10?
10 miles.
Yeah, 10 miles of off-road. A huge part of my road trips is car spotting and looking for Americana. We're starting that here in Dunsmuir, California, where the California Theater opened in 1926. And now this is the little town of Mount Shasta. And now I am in Weed, California. And yes, I'm serious. Freiburger restaurant review, the High-Low Cafe. Actually, really good. I only had the sausage omelet, but it was choice. Let me clarify something that came up in an earlier video. People thought I said that Pepsi was better than Coke. Wrong. Coke rules. Let's hit the road. North of Weed is Gazelle, California. It's got some cool stuff. Check out the old gas station, and I love the farm equipment company with the case sign and the hand-painted deal for Ford tractors. This is Grenada or Granada, California. Man, it over-delivers. Lots of cool stuff here. Look at the 70s paint on that thing. Man, let's bring it back. Now we're cruising Montague, California, and there are so many old cars here. Wow. And half the trucks are short beds. I can't even believe we found this on the sidewalk. Remember earlier at the junkyard I told you about the Chevy Nomad trim level? Well, here's the real thing. One of about 8,500 1955 models that were made. The Nomad began with a show car in 1954 with design cues that wowed the public so much that a version of the car based on the 1955 Chevy was rushed into production. And there was also a Pontiac version called the Safari. Compare the vertical B and C pillars on the regular Chevy wagon, and you can see that the roofline of the Nomad was radically restyled. Even the rear wheel openings are different, and surprisingly, the Nomad body shares almost nothing but a front clip with a regular 55 Chevy. The rarity and collectability of this thing makes it unbelievable that it's just sitting here at the side of the road. No one was around, but I really wanted to buy this thing. Bummer. They made these Nomads in 1955, 56, and 57, but by far my favorite is sitting right here in yellow, the 1955 model. This is it. We arrived at our destination, which is Grants Pass, Oregon, about 700 miles from home. Everything went pretty good. Mason drove the whole way. And now we got to pick up some stuff that you're going to see in a future episode. It's going to be hard to ignore for the rest of this episode because it's going to be all piled in the bed of the truck and hanging out the back. So wait for that. We're going to go load up this stuff, and you'll see the full details in a future episode on the channel. But for right now, we got to load up and then get back to adventuring. And that's it for picking up parts. It was actually pretty painless. Happened in 17 minutes according to my camera footage. So now we're on our way home. We've got about a day and a half before we have to drop this frame off somewhere. And we're gonna see a lot more cool stuff. And tomorrow, it won't be like Penn and Teller, because I'm actually gonna put a microphone on this guy. It's like Jay and Silent Bob at this point. Say something.
Hello.
Yeah. See, you can't really hear them. It's morning now. The drive into the night last night was really good. Lots of cool trees and a super windy road. I dug it. And this morning we're going through Redwoods, and there's an awesome creek here next to us. And we're cruising to we don't know where to go try and find another junkyard. Oh, and Junior is mic'd now. Say something.
I am something. And we're gonna go find I think we have a few junkyards and places possibly mapped out. We're just gonna go take a look and see if there's anything actually there.
See, today you get the brilliance of Mason. Anyway, still motoring. None of the parts in the back of the truck got stolen last night, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
We're now heading down the west side of California and coming into Garberville, where this theater was opened in 1935, according to cinematreasures.org, and it was remodeled in 1951. The Eel River Cafe, where I ate, now has a cool sign with flipping pancakes in neon, and it must have opened around that same time in the mid-30s.
So I was looking as we were flying the drone around, getting some cool shots of the trees, and found a little dirt road that appeared to go down the mountainside to the river. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that. Hopefully it's not too narrow for the truck, but it is what it is. We're gonna give it a shot.
He's making me scratch his new truck.
Exactly. Yeah, David wanted to try driving, so we're giving him a chance.
I'm considering getting a new F-150, so I thought that a diesel crew cab F250 with a lift kit and 37s might give me the feel for it. Actually, we should explain what this truck is. I don't think we've done that yet. It's a 2025.
Yeah.
And what motor is it?
It's the low output 6.7 Power Stroke, so 475 horsepower and I think 1,050 pound-feet.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot of power. And yeah, it's a good truck. It's a Lariat, crew cab, everything that David doesn't want in a truck.
Right. Ready for off-roading?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I am driving Mason's brand new truck. We're off-roading, and he's not concerned about scratching the paint on bushes, except for this big one that he is holding off to the side. Ha! That was pretty good. Oh wow, and we're at the beach. Cool. Nice. I don't know why we're doing this, except for off-roading. That was brief but cool.
That was awesome.
I like the river and the rocks. This thing actually is kind of okay off-road in the sense that it has some ground clearance, and I didn't fear getting up that one steep soft thing because of the locker.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
The weight always makes you nervous, this heavy of a truck. But it did a good job.
Usually we call it desert pinstriping out in the SoCal desert, but I guess up here it's the NorCal pinstriping.
Yeah, redwood pinstriping.
Redwood pinstriping.
A cool bridge.
We were down there.
Yeah, that's where we were.
I can't believe you put used, worn out, really loud tires on your brand new truck.
Okay, to be fair, tires are really expensive.
Yeah, so is the rest of the truck and the lift kit.
Something had to give.
Yeah, you saved $2,000 on the tires, all right.
Hey, they've made it, how many miles are on the truck? 7,000? They've made it 6,500 of those 7,000 miles.
So
no
it
problem.
had 500 miles on it when you ruined it?
No, I didn't ruin it. What? But yes.
Yeah. I want to check the 1,000 torques.
I know, when we get to a straightaway. It picks up good for such a big truck. It's pretty quick.
Yeah. You can feel acceleration.
Isn't it crazy to think that, you know, old 3/4 ton trucks from the early 2000s were incredible with a diesel if they had like 500 pound-feet or 400 and something pound-feet? And
Oh, dude, you were stoked if you had a 454 that got like 5 miles to the gallon with a trailer on the back
yeah,
and made 170 horsepower, or 210, I think they might have been rated at. They were awful.
and now you can get this truck with this much power and gets almost 20 on the highway, even
Yep.
with a lift and 37s.
And that's why we're not in my Dodge Ram. The V10 would have cost me twice as much in fuel for this trip.
And the air conditioning.
And didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
And the dash is falling apart, and the steering wheel's not straight, and it's loud, and the throw-out bearing is coming apart. And let's see, what else? The brakes are soft.
It's a great truck.
Yeah, it's awesome. But it's a V10 and a stick, so it's good.
It's like a Viper.
Yeah, it's just like that. After lots of highway, we're in Willits, California. They have a cool banner sign over the street here. Of course, we'll hunt around, see if we can find some good signs in cars. Here's the hotel van. It was built in 1924. This theater opened in 1940 and is the only one I've shown you that's still operational. 1940 is also the year that the famous racehorse Seabiscuit retired right here in Willits. I'd say Willits was only okay. A few cool signs, some cool cars. It's probably too much of a modern city, really, to have the kind of great garbage that I love. Okay, this is kind of weird. We were at a gas station and convenience store, gulping down some Gatorade, and the guy walks up and he says, "Hey, what are those parts for in the back of the truck?" And I said, "It's a Ford Model A frame." And he says, "Really? I have a bunch of junk in my backyard that's old 30s car parts. I don't know what they are. I probably just am gonna throw them away." And so right now we are on our way to the guy's house to go see what he's got. Could only happen on a road trip, right? This could be creepy, or it could be great, or it could be just a total waste of time, but we're gonna have a look.
He could have a 32 Ford sitting on his property for all we know. He doesn't even know what he has, so can't hurt to go look.
There's the guy. Let's go. Well, here's what just happened. We followed that guy out to his property. What did he say? It was 25 acres?
Yeah, something like that.
And it was covered with old cars at one time. And apparently the guy died. It all got cleared out of there. There was giant shops and neat old stuff dating back to the 30s. No question. Tools. I stepped on a meat hook. That was a little creepy.
Yeah, he said it was some logging company owned the property,
right.
And then he said that he thought there was like 10 acres worth of cars out there at its peak, but then it all got cleared out and it's just junk now, basically.
But we took junk anyway. So let's go through it. First of all, you saw Mason loading up his sign that says Camé Drilling Company. I got a cool shift knob that if you look in there, it has glitter in it.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna polish that thing up, and that's gonna be a
Model A.
Yes. Okay.
That's yours, I think.
Yeah, this is a brand new reproduction, like sedan delivery tail light, like a 40, not a 40. It actually says on here somewhere. It says 35 to 36 passenger and 35 to 48 sedan delivery. What's that?
This is a some sort of a vacuum and pressure gauge, but it's absolutely massive. If you look at how big it is.
Compare it to your skull.
Made by the Ashcroft company from New York. It's got to be pretty old. Oh, 1910.
And this is a blackout light from a military vehicle. It could be from an M38, M38A1, World War II, not sure. Blackout light.
Are these Model A?
No, those are going to be like 35, 36 Ford door handles, I believe.
They're in pretty good shape.
Corner patch panels for a Model A Roadster is pretty good. Look at this. Speed Mechanics magazine, the only hot rodding type magazine that we could find there. December 1959.
Gotta have some cool ads in there.
Inspiration for building Model A's, right?
It's gotta be. This is a book that David said I needed to take.
Yeah.
Called Ghost Towns of the West.
I have that one. A lot of those ghost towns are now gone, but it's a great resource for finding cool stuff on road trips.
Yeah, that's cool. They have separated by state.
Yeah, it's really good. And a 1964 motor manual. So, not a bad haul. It's getting dark and mosquito-y, and so we're gonna hop in the excessive truck and cannonball. Are we gonna make it to Tracy tonight?
I think so. It's like 3 hours-ish.
Something like that.
We can make it.
All right, see you in the morning. Where do you want to put all this stuff?
I don't know, back seat. It's gonna fly away.
Yeah, don't put it here. I want to read this one. The Iron Donkey.
What?
That's what it says. The Iron Donkey is a cover blurb on this thing.
Which one's the Iron Donkey?
I don't know. Oh, I have one more thing. Wait for this. This is cool. Look at the ancient can. This is a Stuart Warner tack, but it's not the kind of tack you're thinking of. This is a machinist tachometer where if you have a belt running a piece of equipment, you just hand hold it up against the belt and it spins and tells you the RPM. That is a really, really nice unit right there. So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here.
Let's do it. I'm getting bit.
Yeah. It's morning, and we've arrived at my friend Sam's house to unload all of this Model A chassis stuff that we picked up in Oregon. I'm not going to go into the detail of what all of this is right now, but you are going to see a build episode later on the David Freiburger channel. Now that I've made all that stuff Sam's problem, we're still about 300 miles from home, and that's going to get longer because I'm sure we're going to be exploring the back roads. Now we're cruising Gustine, California. It's got kind of a cool main street, a couple neat signs. I really dig, not one, but 2 bars with cool old neon and with martinis on the side. It's hard to believe a California legend was built on split pea soup, but that's what happened with Pea Soup Anderson's restaurant. It opened in 1924 in Buellton, California, and this Santanella location is the last one standing. And now we've hit Los Banos. This place has been a church, a roller rink, a gym, a bakery, and now a sports bar, but it started as the Crest Theater in 1949. Turns out Los Banos is kind of big, so it doesn't have a whole lot of great stuff, but I did find some cool signage and that clapped out old dairy building. That was pretty good. I feel like we should. I mean,
It would be a shame to not get some vehicle over on this trip.
it'd be ridiculous not to. Look at the sliding rear window.
Yeah. 71 is the DSO. I actually really like that truck. Is that a small block?
No, it's FE.
Oh, it is. Did they have 352 in this year, or did it be 360?
360.
Yeah, look, AC. That is a win. And it's got an air intake tube that just runs to absolutely nowhere.
Well, here's what just happened. We were rolling down the highway and Mason and I both spotted this pickup truck and it has a for sale sign on it. So of course we stopped and looked. It's a 1973 Ford F-250 two-wheel drive camper special with a 360 and a 4-speed. And the cool thing is it is loaded with Laguna Seca stickers. So the guy who had this must have been a racer at one time. So Mason and I looked at each other and we were thinking, I don't need a new truck. He was thinking he doesn't need a new truck. And they said, but we should probably call and find out how much it is, which we did. And the guy asked $6,000. Mason talked him down to $4,500. We were gonna get it. The guy said, wait 2 hours, it's yours. We went and bought tools, the whole run. And then the guy didn't show up. And then we talked to him and he's like, yeah, it's gonna be another 2 or 3 hours. So unfortunately, we gotta hit the road and we're not getting another pickup, which is a drag because it's actually really good. And so now we're back on the road. Still suffering the agony of defeat over the F-250, but we're looking for neat stuff in Dos Palos. Man, this is becoming a vintage theater tour. I found old newspaper stories about this one that say that it was permitted 1924, opened by at least 1926. It burned to the ground in 1946 and reopened in 1948 or 49 after the owner died falling off the scaffold while rebuilding it. Well, we rolled through the night. It was actually a pretty cool drive, and we stopped at my buddies at Hot Rod Ranch. They're thrashing right now to build a 55 Chevy for a show in like 4 days. You can see how disassembled the car is. It's like nowhere near ready. They always have way cool stuff in the shop there. There's that 55 Chevy. There's another primered 55. There's an old Corvette drag car that's super, super cool with a blown engine. And my buddy Gil just moved his wheel collection in there, so that's also very cool. Now, earlier in the episode, I told you that there was one last thing that I had to show you. I didn't intend on showing up here at night, but I did make it to this spot right here, which is north of Santa Barbara, California, kind of in Goleta, actually an area that's called Elwood. And behind me here is an amazing 1929 gas station. Now, this place was the showcase of an oil company that was called Barnsdall Rio Grande, which had a massive oil field right here, standing with the traffic whizzing by and all these nice homes here. It's unbelievable to think this was an oil field, but it was, and they built this gas station. The other interesting thing is that in 1942, a Japanese submarine actually shelled this area. It's the first point of the American mainland that was actually bombarded by alien forces in World War II. There was a restaurant right here that was called Wheeler's, I think Wheeler's Restaurant or Wheeler's Cafe, and as the story goes, a shell came right over the top of it and exploded right over there. So I just find that to be really cool history, and I find this gas station to have awesome, really cool old design features. I dig it. That's the end of the episode. It's been an amazing road trip. I got to thank Mason, who is shooting me right now, for driving his brand new truck and thrashing it off-road and carrying all my junk in it. And of course, everybody who stopped and helped us along the way, or everywhere where we stopped and got help along the way, Hot Rod Ranch and all those junkyards and everything. You can help me by buying my merch or going and watching another episode on my channel right now. And I will see you next time on the David Freiburger channel.